I keep doing that. Oh my God. This is Laura, and this is Stuff I Find Interesting, where I talk about stuff I find interesting. Um, no particular order, no particular relevance normally. Um, Sometimes there's a theme, sometimes there's not a theme. It's just kind of very random, honestly. So let me make sure I speak up. And today I actually do have something that's specific and pertinent and contemporary. So it's very exciting, maybe. I don't know. Some people might get mad. This is Corellia. Remember, we talked about Corellia. This is a village where the old people got old and passed away, and the young people were like, we don't want to stay here. We want to go to the city. And they left to go to different places. As you can see, there's water here, and this is it. That's it, and that's the town. So the younger people left and went elsewhere, and the town just sort of fell apart. From what I understand, it's completely gone now. Now, I found this. This is from 1816, and it says the city of Astrakhan, the capital of Tartary. Who knew? And it says that it's on the Volga River, so it's east of the Caspian Sea. And I was like, what's up with that? So then I looked. Astrakhan, it was formerly the capital of the Khanate of Astrakhan, a remnant of the Golden Horde, and was located on the higher right bank of the Volga. Situated on caravan and water routes, it developed from a village into a large trading center before being conquered by Timur, and captured by Ivan the Terrible in 1556. In 1558, it was moved to its present site. So it was just kind of like incorporated into Russia, but it stayed the same, a lot in terms of architecture and stuff. And in that way, it's sort of like Kazan. 7% of the population, 30,000, are Tatars. And now you know. Here's another picture as seen from the water. And this one makes it look a little bit more grand. You got the fancy buildings, the camels and stuff. So it probably was kind of fancy, I would imagine. I didn't look it up. Okay, 10 facts about George Washington. You will have to look them up to read all of the facts because I just want to read one fact for today. When Washington's father, Augustine, died in 1743, George Washington inherited enslaved people at the early age of 11. In his will, Augustine left his son the 280-acre family farm near Fredericksburg, Virginia. In addition, Washington was willed 10 enslaved people. As a young adult, Washington purchased at least 8 more enslaved people, including a carpenter named Kit. Washington purchased more enslaved people in 1755, including 4 men, 2 women, and a child. Of the 317 enslaved people living at Mount Vernon in 1799, a little less than half, 123, were owned by George Washington himself. The other 153 people were owned by the Custis estate. So Martha Washington, George Washington's husband, had a first husband whose name was Daniel Park Custis, and he passed away. So she was a widow and they got married. And yes, so interesting, right? Washington fed, clothed, and housed his enslaved laborers poorly, candidly admitting that some of the dwellings he provided were so miserable that a white person would never consent to live there. As a matter of routine, Washington separated husbands and wives, housing the enslaved males close to the mansion where their skills were needed while keeping their wives and children on his outlying farms miles away. Though enslaved women and girls worked in the mansion as seamstresses, cooks, and maids, the historian Lorena S. Walsh found that about 61% of Washington's field slaves were women doing hard labor, such as collecting and spreading manure, clearing stumps, making fences, cleaning stables, and breaking ground with hand tools under the supervision of overseers. This is a bell. The house bell. You would have been like, ding, 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 ding. I need my coffee. So this is like, there's anecdotal stuff, there's academically sourced stuff, but this is a longer kind of read than I'm going to go into today. But it's definitely, if you're into history, you definitely kind of want to read this, because as much as Washington was a man of his time, I don't know, I feel like it kind of reflects poorly on him morally. I mean, I don't know how you can justify owning a human being, but that's just me. There was a picture I was going to show you. Now I can't find it, of course. Typical. All right, moving on. George Washington's biracial family is getting new recognition. Say what now? Okay. So, Washington never fathered any biological children. But before marrying the future first president, Martha Washington had been previously married, and she had children and grandchildren, one who became orphaned just a few years into the American Revolution. Named George Washington Parke Custis, or Wash for short, the infant was taken in by his grandmother, and Washington formally adopted him as his son. During his youth, the boy was rumored to have fathered several children, with Ariana Carter and Carolyn Branham, two of Washington's slaves, at his family home of Mount Vernon. While history books have downplayed this for centuries, the National Park Service and the non-profit organization that runs Mount Vernon have decided to finally acknowledge these rumors as a fact. So, you can read about that. And also about George Washington. In the Revolutionary War of 1776, the Iroquois were divided, with some nations supporting the British and some the colonists. In retaliation for the Iroquois attacks, George Washington, who later referred to the Indians as beasts of prey, ordered a campaign of complete destruction. The expedition that you are appointed to command is to be directed against the hostile tribes of the Six Nations of the Indians. The immediate objects are the total destruction and devastation of their settlements and the capture of as many prisoners of every age and sex as possible. It will be essential to ruin their crops now on the ground, prevent their planting more. Parties should be detached to lay waste to all the settlements around, with instructions to do it in the most effectual manner, that the country may not be merely overrun but destroyed. You know, I mean, if the Indians were running around killing people, I understand, I could get it. I could get the retaliation. But to go after the women and the children and the crops is just, I don't know, it gives me a bad feeling. You know, but I'm a 20th century person, you know, and I don't live the same life. So it's easy for me to sit here and to talk about these things and to have a certain opinion of them. If I were to go back in time, I might have a different opinion, but who knows? It's interesting food for thought, however, and I think it actually improves our leaders, our past leaders, if we remember them fully as human beings, not as icons, not as like these imaginary gods on a pedestal, but human beings who were trying to figure out how to run this country, who were trying to figure out how to put things together. And they were flawed, and they did things that some people don't agree with, right? And some things that are controversial. But, you know, by talking about it, I think it makes our history come alive. And it's not just something that's like in a book. But I can guarantee that fact will not be taught in Florida. Okay, this is just piggybacking off of last time, the structures that look like power towers. Here's some more pictures for you to enjoy. Some more pictures for you to enjoy of buildings with pointy things on them. People seem to like those, so there you go. This is Nizhny Novgorod funicular. I think I said that right. a funicular is different than a train in that I have to look it up. It operates by a cable and it goes up and down, basically. That's a funicular. And it's for a specific track from here to here, from here to here. No, nowhere else. That's it. And it just goes back and forth, back and forth. And it's a cable railway system, but it's a cable railway system that's on the ground, not like up in the air. Okay, this is a new construction of an orrery. So an orrery is one of those platforms with the planets sticking all over it, like like they used to make back in the day. With the little planets, and they would revolve and they would talk about it. And I just thought this was a cool ass picture. I'm like, you know what? I really like that picture. I think I might even print that picture and put it on my desk at work. That's a very cool picture. As I completely failed to shut this thing down. How do I shut this thing down? Oh, like that. Look at that. Amazing. Rock cut buildings. This is the Reba. I forget what it stands for, but it has to do with architecture. And this is rock structures. So you can look at these rock structures. I think there's like 132 of them. But the thing I also wanted to show you is if you look at the left-hand side, we have gardens, industry, engineering, culture and leisure, construction. Let's go into fantasy and see what happens and see what we get. Follies. We love follies. Follies are fun. Fantastic architecture. That looks fun too. So something for you to enjoy on this fabulous Monday. Now this picture, I mean, like, I don't know what it is about this picture. I don't know who took it. I don't know where it came from. It's just beautiful. Seriously, I don't know. There's just something about it. I might print that off too. No, I'm gonna have to save that differently. Hang on. Let me do that while I'm here. We're gonna save this. What happened? I don't know what I did. It went somewhere, I think. I don't really know. Okay, moving on. Story time. I used to have an antiques collectible shop. And, I made some money, but it wasn't super successful. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. But one day I'm sitting at my desk, and this guy, covered in like construction dust and wearing construction clothes, runs in, and he's like, Laura, 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 Laura. And I was like, what? And he was like, I found a Faberge egg. And I'm like, what? Because stranger things have happened. It is possible. Slightly. Very, very possible. But, I perked up, like, because it could have been a replica that was worth money. So this guy comes in and he gives me this story about how this house belonged to this person and they stuck it in the wall. Like he really went on a rant about where this Faberge egg came from. And he had it in a brown sack. And the one that his lunch probably came in. And I think he might have been on some cocaine, and he just was like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, pull it out. Let's see what you got. He opens up the brown sack, and he pulls out the egg, and he puts it in front of me. And it's from the Joan Rivers collection that was made in the 2000s. And not collectible. You could probably give them away, but it's not like a lot of people really want them. So this is the story behind the world's most renowned Faberge dealer, and I love Faberge. I think I would only want to own like maybe one thing from Faberge, but like it's not like I want a lot of it or anything. But I definitely think it's cool stuff. These are some items that you can poke through. You can look at all the different Faberge items, because people think of Faberge and they think of just eggs, but it's more than just eggs. It's a bigger thing than that. Okay, we're talking about the ancient cave town in Crimea. Now, Crimea, um, very hot spot right now. Has been a hot spot for kind of a while, since 2014, probably since 2012 actually, because things sort of bubbled over in 2014. But this is perhaps somebody's home. I'm not really sure. We have some more caves. This cave, this one has stairs. Look how worn those stairs are. I think they're trying to say that some of these caves are only like 2,000 years old, but I'm thinking, nah, they gotta be a little older than that. Look, we got holes. They're not really cupules though, because look, they're all the way through. They're punched all the way through, so they're not cupules. Cupules have to be have to have a bottom, like a bowl. That's what defines a cupule. So those aren't cupules, but still, they're holes cut in rock. Oh, it's a window, like a Freddie Flintstone window. Oh, look at that. That's really cool. Little altar. This is sort of like a village of some kind. This is wild. Let's look at this more closely. There's grooves, very ancient grooves. Intriguing, right? So this is in Crimea. And there is here is some more about it in addition to some additional caves. And this is Mangub Kale is the biggest cavern fortress on the Crimean Peninsula. It is located at the top of Mangub Mountain that stands above three picturesque valleys. The plateau, located at a height of almost 2,000 feet above the sea level, has a peculiar form. From above, it looks like a palm with four capes acting as fingers. Nature made this area impregnable. On three sides, the plateau is framed by steep precipices, and on the fourth, a deep ravine. According to the 6th century Byzantine historian Procopius of Caesarea, the region of Doria or Doros was settled by those Ostrogoths who refused to follow Theodoric the Great in his invasion of Italy in the 490s, marking the beginning of the Crimean Goths and their homeland Gothia. But many things indicate, what happened? Oh my God. Many things indicate that it was built much earlier. So there's some more pictures that you can look at, and it's pretty wild stuff. This is just another picture I wanted to show you. So this is another area, and this area is a little bit fancier. So it looks to me as though it was an older structure that was repurposed by a modern, but still old to us, structure. I don't know. I didn't look that deeply into this specific cave system. Now we're going to talk about the enigmatic Jean-Jacques Lequeux. So this guy existed 1777 to 1824. Why no cinematic biography of Jean-Jacques Lequeux has been produced yet is a mystery to me. He's a genius protagonist, a visionary who toils not in the hallowed halls of the academy, but in decrepit offices out there in the margins of the art world. By day, he is surrounded by the bureaucrats and machinations of the state, but by day's end, he walks home to a brothel. So this guy was an artist. This was in post-revolution in Napoleon, France. He was also a cross-dresser. And he really upset people by painting portraits of nuns baring their breasts. I will not be sharing those, but they're pretty interesting. Yeah. So we have some of the stuff that he drew. So he was sort of like, he did this architecture stuff that was just very sort of fantastical. This is Elevation Geometrale du Temple de la Terre. And there's a book written about him called An Architectural Enigma. And this is just a sampling of some of the things that he did. And you can just see it's... You can look at the whole collection online at the Gallica website, and it's really good quality. Here's a YouTube video about him, and he was very meticulous, and I'll show you some of this. So this is something we can blow up, and I can show you some of these details. Like there's like this incense thing swinging. Like, how big is this freaking thing? Then we've got some kind of labyrinth. This is Labyrinth de Egypt, Labyrinth de Crete, Labyrinth de Lemnos, Labyrinth de Etrurie, Orthography du Tombeau de Possena Qua. I don't know. I'd have to blow that up to look at it, but I guess these are the stairs and this is the doorway. So obviously this is not something that got built. These were designs for an altar and a baptismal font. Here's the baptismal font. And here's the altar. The altar has a sheep on it, probably to denote obedience to God. We've got some crazy looking candles. If we go over here, we have, I'm sure that's a Bible scene. And we have another sheep. Really cool, right? Introducing the Scythians. We have some facts about the Scythians. They were formidable warriors. They were nomads. They loved their horses. They liked getting drunk and high. They were heavily tattooed, which is interesting. They liked a bit of bling. They were gold masters. Even though they traveled around, they were still very crafty and incredibly gifted at their ability to work materials, including gold. They mummified their dead in these elaborate kind of tombs. Elaborate for them. They used coffins. And although Scythian culture remains relatively unknown, new discoveries are happening all the time. So why am I bringing up Scythia? I am bringing up Scythia because this is an interesting read for you. But also because some people believe that Tartaria is Scythia. And this is part 1. This is written by, I'm not sure, Tartaria Info, I guess. So when did the name Scythia disappear from the maps and the name Tartaria appeared, and why? Looking at old maps, I noticed one regularity. The inscriptions Scythia and Sarmatia are present in parallel with the inscriptions Borisfen, Tanae, Pontus, Palus Mediotis, Pantipasium, Myrmicia, Phanagoria, Herminosa, Gorgipia. I didn't practice how to say those. I should have. Official history dates the existence of the Scythians from the 11th century BCE until the 2nd century. And then it talks about Scythia and Sarmatia and how the names are similar, and that Ptolemy is talking about the same people when he talks about Scythia and Sarmatia. And we've got some maps of the Caucasus. The point really that I was making of this is that this guy thinks that Scythia is Tartaria, or did become Tartaria, and he goes into, or she goes into why, and provides some pretty interesting evidence, actually, and like a lot of it, not like a small amount of stuff. Like, I could keep going here for a while. Look, still going. We're going to come back to this. I just wanted to introduce it. Okay, we're finishing up. We're going to dip our toe into the Jesuits. Yep, we sure are. And that's because everywhere I go, on these conspiracy websites because I like to go there. It's interesting to find stuff and then go look it up. Because sometimes you don't even need a conspiracy. I don't even know why people make up a conspiracy. Like, it's not even necessary. Like, the crap is crazy enough on its own. Like, why you got to make up a conspiracy? I don't get it. Anywho, Jesuit conspiracy theories. The earliest recorded Jesuit conspiracy theory is found from an Augustinian monk, George Brown, who had exclaimed from the pulpit to a crowd in 1551 the following conspiracy theory. There is a new fraternity of late sprung up who call themselves Jesuits, which will deceive many who are much after the scribes and Pharisees' manner. Among the Jews, they shall blah, 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 blah. This guy really went off on the Jesuits, and everybody was like, clutch their pearls. And the Wikipedia is written as though the Jesuits are the victims in this and that they're kind of sort of misunderstood. They're a religious order of the Catholic Church. They're considered more liberal. I think there's only like 60,000 Jesuits in the United States currently. It might even be less than that. But, are they victims of history and personal opinion and a few key people villainizing them at the right time and then capitalizing on that hatred? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. The Society of Jesus is a religious order of clerics, regular of pontifical right for men in the Catholic Church, headquartered in Rome. It was founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola and 6 companions with the approval of Pope Paul III. The society is engaged in evangelization and apostolic ministry in 112 nations. Jesuits work in education, research, and cultural pursuits. They conduct retreats, minister in hospitals and parishes, sponsor direct social and humanitarian ministries, and provide ecumenical dialogue. So there you go. That's what they do. Now, who exactly are the Jesuits? This breaks it down in more of formal, a more readable fashion, and I didn't find this to be sympathetic to any side. It's just like, these are the facts. This is, An old joke tells of a Franciscan, a Dominican, and a Jesuit who are arrested during the Russian Revolution for spreading the Christian capitalist gospel and thrown into a dark prison cell. In a bid to restore the light, each man reflects on the traditions of his own order. The Franciscan decides to wear sackcloth and ashes and pray for light. Nothing happens. The Dominican prepares and delivers an hour-long lecture on the virtue of light. Nothing happens. Then the Jesuit gets up and mends the fuse, and the light comes on. That's like the equivalent of a bad Facebook meme or something. I don't know. But central to the order's philosophy are the spiritual exercises set down by Loyola, which offer a means for the individual to learn more about themselves and God through prayer and guidance from a director. So there's some more information. This is a PowerPoint thing about them. Goes into like where they are. There's some quotes, what they do. This is made by a Jesuit university. So they made this so that you can look at this. This is an even easier read. If you don't want to read the other one, you can just kind of click. The Pope is a Jesuit. I didn't read any proof of that, but I didn't go look for any proof of it either. So I'm not really sure. I didn't want to do that. What am I doing? Oh my God. Oh yeah. So this is the Jesuit Post. This is done by the Jesuits themselves. I tried to read it to try to glean something interesting, and then I didn't get very far. But it seemed fairly level-headed. But then.
Hi, this is Gail Cord-Schuler, and I am making a plea to the world right now that that we could find a scientist to help us My mother is in Jesuit territory. She is in North Korea. She has been held hostage by the Jesuits. The Jesuits have been using their switch out technology on her, where they are able to switch her out with her evil clone because my mother, up until very recently, was not a born again Christian.
That's a whole lot to take in. What is the origin of Jesuit conspiratorial theories? So this person has the same question I do. Like, what's the deal? And the Jesuits absolutely demolished Protestants back during the Counter-Reformation when St. Robert Bellarmine released his work on the Disputions. A Calvinist wrote, "Methinks it is not one Bellarmine who speaks in these pages. It is the whole Jesuit phalanx, the entire legion of them mustered for our destruction." Swaths of Germany were converted back. Outside of Europe, the Jesuits were learned men who were able to gain the favor with the rulers of lands through their skill in sciences such as astronomy, as well as their more liberal stances towards things like incorporating Chinese into the liturgy and allowing ancestral venerations within limits, which allowed for a smoother process of Christianization from the top down. And it goes into it. They have a 500-year history of working closely with the halls of power. And this goes into it a little bit more deeply, and I'll be reading this some more and sort of putting together something that's a little more cohesive. I just sort of wanted to introduce this as well. So we have the Scythians and the Tartarians, and we have the Jesuits, and I suspect the two might even be related, or the three things, yes, perhaps. The Uncomfortable Truths Behind Crazy Jesuit Conspiracy Theories. This is written by the America Jesuit Review. This is another magazine, or this is published by the Jesuits, and it talks about why there are uncomfortable truths behind the crazy Jesuit conspiracy theory. So I read it, and I didn't really, I don't know. I was just like, I just kind of shrugged. Okay, we're going to finish off with conspiracy with the Emperor's mysterious map and the South China Sea. Is China censoring ancient clues to the secret history of the Spratly Islands? So this goes into a world map which has been altered, an old map, which is used to establish the ownership of this particular chain of islands, which in and of themselves are not very interesting, but because of where they are located, it gives them certain rights to that area of water, which they could use to leapfrog into another area and then get rights there. So it's part of like a whole thing. And that's what it's conjectured. It's saying that this is what happens. And this guy goes into evidence why he thinks that this map was altered and how it was altered, and is it a modern alteration? Is it an old alteration? And this guy who seems to know what he's doing, goes to see the map on display, and he's like, he's like, yeah, it does look like it was altered to my professional, eye. So, but this is something that's going on right now. Who owns Spratly? Who knows? Okay, so we're going to finish off. This is a cool, I like this guy's eye. Another person that I like. We are going to put on some music, and I'm just going to scroll through for a little bit. And then it'll be time to say goodbye. Both. Okay. All right, guys. That's it for today. And I'll see you guys again soon. And people are telling me I'm supposed to say like and subscribe. So, whatever. Do whatever you feel like you want to do. I don't care. Um, but if the he thinks he's right about this, he thinks people like the numbers will go up suddenly because people go, "Oh yeah, I never subscribed," and they'll subscribe, and then anyway, I think he's wrong. I think he's wrong. Um, but he does have this infuriating ability to be right a lot of the time. So, hope everyone has a great day. I'm going to eat some food and take a nap. It's going to be delightful.